Payday hits. Your phone lights up. $3,600. You are still standing at the kitchen counter with your work shoes half kicked off. The leftover coffee cup looks less tragic. The room feels like it got a little wider. For about 10 beautiful seconds, you breathe like the month finally decided to be reasonable. The rent envelope is still on the counter, but it looks polite, almost patient, like maybe it knows you have suffered enough and would like to respect your evening. You smile at the phone. That's the dangerous part. The number is real. The relief is real. Your shoulders dropping is real. But the phone is only showing one pile of money. It is not showing who already came for dinner. Rent is still waiting. The card payment is still waiting. Groceries, gas, subscriptions, and that annual renewal you keep forgetting until it reappears with villain timing. You haven't done anything wrong yet. You haven't bought brunch. You haven't said yes to the group chat. You haven't made one questionable late-night cart decision. Still, pieces of the $3,600 are already walking toward the table. The phone glows like the money is yours. You set the phone on the kitchen table like it just solved the month. $3,600 sits there, glowing. Then the rent envelope slides forward. It doesn't yo. It doesn't need to. It pulls out the good chair and drops a card on the table. $1,450. That is the first strange feeling. You did not spend anything, but the money got smaller anyway. Not in the app yet. In real life. The card payment slip leans against the coffee mug. The utility bill waits near the fridge calendar. A few smaller envelopes hover by the edge, like they're trying to act casual. Your brain wants to keep staring at the big number, because big numbers feel like permission. The table is showing a different truth. Some of the money already has a job. Some of it is rent. Some of it is the card payment. Some of it will become food, gas, and the boring costs that never trend, but somehow always arrive. The bank app is not exactly lying. It is leaving out the seating chart. And right now, the table is filling up before the weekend even gets a vote. Saturday gets to you before responsibility finishes tying its shoes. Your phone buzzes beside the car keys and the half-folded laundry. The group chat wants brunch. Somebody says, "Nothing crazy," which is a famous last phrase spoken before a total that later needs a small apology. You check the bank app again. The Payday Glow is dimmer than Friday night, but $3,600 still lives in your head as the emotional headline. So you say yes. Brunch, one errand, and a little fee wearing a tiny crown add up to $72. Against $3,600, $72 feels tiny. Your brain almost laughs at it. $72 is not the villain. $72 is not rent. $72 is not the reason adults make that sound when they open mail. So it gets filed under fine. But $72 is only tiny if the $3,600 was truly free to answer. Rent already took a chair. The card payment is holding one. Groceries and gas have not even sat down yet. The annual renewal is still outside, pretending it forgot where you live. The weekend did not ruin anything. Monday morning, the card payment stops being theoretical. It's on the kitchen table beside your laptop, wearing the emotional equivalent of a tiny office tie. $420. You pay it from the same checking balance that looked so roomy on payday. The number drops. Not enough for a movie explosion. Not enough for dramatic rain on the window. It still looks mostly okay, which is exactly why the feeling is confusing. The $72 weekend suddenly changes shape. It was not evil. It was not reckless. It was not a character flaw with syrup on it. It just voted before the $420 bill got its chair. That is what makes the month feel sneaky. The money was all in one room, so every decision felt like it came from the same pile. But one pile can have 5 different owners standing around it. You sip the coffee. It tastes like Monday and quiet regret. The phone still says there is money. The table says, yes, but look who is sitting there. Tuesday night. The couch accepts you as furniture. The TV is glowing. The snack bowl is empty. The phone is face up because apparently you enjoy checking your balance right before sleep. Then the tiny charges appear. A streaming thing, a storage thing, an app thing you are absolutely going to cancel right after becoming the kind of person who remembers free trials. Together, they add up to $61. Each charge is small enough to avoid a courtroom drama. One is not rent, one is not the card payment, one is barely loud enough to interrupt pajamas. But your checking account does not care about the emotional volume. $61 still leaves. And because it leads quietly, it can feel like the month is leaking instead of spending. You stare at the phone, the number is lower again, but no single charge feels guilty enough to blame. That is how small recurring charges get away with being boring. They do not knock. Wednesday, groceries tell the truth in receipt form. You are not filling the cart with luxury cereal served by tiny butlers. It is normal stuff. Food for lunches, soap, something green so your body knows you tried. You even put one treat back, which is a tiny little funeral nobody talks about. Then the receipt curls out. $188. The number does not feel fair because nothing about the cart looked dramatic. That's the insult. The month is not being destroyed by one wide purchase. It's being worn down by regular life. $188 for groceries, $420 for the card payment, $61 in quiet subscriptions. Rent still sitting there with its $1,450 card, like it owns the table, because legally and emotionally, it kind of does. You hold the grocery receipt next to the phone and the payday feeling gets smaller. Not because you failed, because the balance was doing too many jobs without name tags. Groceries were always going to need a chair. Thursday. The car keys get involved. You stop for gas before work. Then a small errand attaches itself to the day, because small errands reproduce when unsupervised. By the time the receipts hit the table, it is $64. That number should not feel personal. You need gas. You need to get to work. You need the boring little things that keep a normal week moving. But when the money was never separated first, even responsible spending can feel like sabotage. You check the phone with your thumb hovering like it expects bad news. The account is lower again. The table is louder again. And now you are in that familiar headspace where every normal purchase feels suspicious. Coffee feels suspicious. Gas feels suspicious. A basic errand feels like it came wearing a fake mustache. That is not peace. That is what happens when checking is asked to be a bank account, a budget, a calendar, a permission slip, and a therapist. It cannot carry all of that. Then the mail does what mail does best. It ruins a decent afternoon. You cut open an envelope at the kitchen table and find a $240 renewal. For a second, your face does the thing where it tries to be calm, but forgets the instructions. $240. Not every month, not every week, just occasionally enough to feel rude. The calendar on the fridge knows the date. The envelope knows the date. Apparently, everyone knew except the version of you who was making weekend decisions from the checking balance. That is why the renewal feels like an ambush. It was not hiding from the calendar, it was hiding from the balance. Your phone never said, hey, some of this money has to survive until the renewal shows up. It just showed the pile. So the $240 walks in late, pulls out a chair and acts offended that nobody saved its seat. You look at the table. Rent, card payment, subscriptions, groceries, gas, renewal. The $3,600 payday is starting to look less like a lake and more like a crowded elevator. That is when future you shows up. Not as a ghost. Not glowing. Not floating through the wall with dramatic music. Future you is just standing in the doorway, holding a receipt, and looking tired in a way you recognize immediately. Younger you wants to defend the weekend. Future you does not argue. Future you pulls up a chair and turns the phone toward the table. $3,600. Then future you points to the rent card. $1,450. The card payment? $420. Subscriptions? $61. Groceries? $188. Gas and errands? $64. The renewal? $240. Suddenly, the room makes more sense. The bank app showed the money in one place. The table shows the money being claimed by time. Friday claims some. Monday claims some. Wednesday claims some. The calendar claims some before you even open the envelope. The balance was not one answer. It was a room full of people talking at once. Future you slides over one clean receipt. At the top, $3,600. Under it, rent, $1,450. Card payment, $420. Subscriptions, $61. Groceries, $188. Gas and errands, $64. Annual renewal, $240. The pencil scratches across the paper. $3,600 minus those assigned pieces leaves $1,177 before other needs, savings, and choices. The number is smaller than the payday feeling promised. That stings. But it also does something strange. It calms the room. Because now the confusion has edges. The money did not vanish into fog. It walked into rent, card payments, subscriptions, food, transportation, and the calendar. A smaller, honest number can feel better than a bigger, blurry one. The 1,177 is not perfect. It is not magic. It may still have other jobs waiting for it, but at least it is no longer pretending to be $3,600. And that is the first honest breath of the month. The next payday, you try something that looks almost too simple to matter. The phone lights up again. You do not let the glow talk first. You put paper cards on the kitchen table. Rent gets a chair. The card payment gets a chair. Food gets a chair. Gas gets a chair. The calendar bill gets a chair, even though it's not here yet and frankly has bad manners. Then savings gets a chair. And finally, spending gets a chair too. That part matters. This cannot become a punishment ritual where every dollar is sent to adult jail. You still need a little money that's allowed to say yes without starting a courtroom scene in your head. The difference is that yes now has a seat. Not the whole table. One seat. The phone still shows one balance, but the table no longer believes it's one pile. The money has names. Saturday comes back. Because Saturday has confidence. The group chat buzzes again. This time, you do not open the bank app and ask the giant number for permission. You look at the small card on the counter. $90, money that can actually say yes. Rent is already closed in its envelope. The card payment is not standing behind you with a clipboard. Groceries have their spot. Gas has its spot. The calendar bill is sitting in the corner like a weird little goblin, but at least it has been acknowledged. So when you spend from the $90 card, the feeling is different. It is not reckless. It is not secretly stealing from rent. It is not pretending the whole paycheck is available. It is a yes that already survived the table. That is the part people miss when they hear the word budget and immediately want to leave the room. The goal is not to hate spending. The goal is to stop making every yes fight every bill in the dark. At the end of the month, there's no mystery villain. The kitchen table is still the kitchen table. The coffee mug still has no ambition. The phone still glows a little too confidently. But the envelopes are closed. The calendar has check marks. The receipts are annoying, but they are no longer shocking. You still spent money. You still had normal life costs. Food, transportation, payments, renewals, small charges, the 1,000 tiny things that make adulthood feel like a subscription service you do not remember joining. But this time, the month has a paper trail. When the balance gets lower, it does not feel like proof that you are bad with money. It feels like money doing jobs you can actually name. That difference matters, because shame is vague. Names are useful. Rent had a name. Groceries had a name. Gas had a name. The renewal had a name. Even spending had a name. And when you know where the money went, you get a fighting chance to decide where the next paycheck goes. So the next time payday hits and your phone lights up, pause before the number tells you who you are. $3,600 can feel like freedom. It can also be rent, food, transportation, payments, renewals, savings, and one small yes all wearing the same jacket. The balance is not the boss. It is just the room. You decide who gets a chair. Start with the money that already has a job. Put the obvious bills where you can see them. Put the calendar costs on the table before they act surprised. Give future you a seat before the weekend starts making speeches. And keep one honest little card for the money that can actually say yes. Not because you're trying to become perfect, because you're tired of feeling confused by your own paycheck. Comment with the bill that already has a seat at your table before you spend $1. And if you want more money stories that make future you a little harder to ignore, like this video and subscribe to Stick Finance.